All right, y'all, welcome to Butcher Vision. Here I'll be breaking down a side of pork, mostly into primals, but we'll do the whole finishing on a rack of spare ribs, a pork belly that I'm going to de-skin, and a pork tenderloin. Right here you'll see me removing the leaf lard. Really good stuff. We save all that and render it down for sale online and here in the butcher shop. And here you'll see I'll cut right at that hip bone and then ride those vertebrae to remove that tenderloin. Pork tenderloin, really popular thing to cook. Everybody kind of tends to love them. For my parents at least, it's like a perfect midweek meal, you know, just kind of marinated or whatever, fired in the oven. Sometimes you can even get like a nice crusty sear on it and then fire in the oven to finish. I'll clean that up later. Now I'm going to use this bandsaw to prop up this side of pork, as you'll see, and grab my handsaw real quick. It's kind of at an awkward little angle. You'll see me kind of hit that vertebrae and hesitate here in a minute, kind of refine my line, and then make that cut right at where the loin meets the sirloin, if we were talking about beef, but kind of interchangeable parts because all these four-legged animals are built the same, just in different proportion. So now we kind of have that front shoulder and the middle section of pork. I'm gonna saw right here in between the 5th and 6th ribs. That way I just dodge the shoulder blade, which is gonna be to the left side there in the shoulder, and have a nice clean loin and belly section here on my right. Finish that cut with the big knife and just clean up this middle section of some trim pieces just a little bit, so I don't have to do it later. Now you can do what I'm about to do on a bandsaw with just a handsaw, but for sake of time I'm just gonna run this thing, separate the bone-in pork chops and our belly. Alright, now that I've made a little room for myself, clean off this belly and rack of ribs a little more, and then we get right into separating the spare ribs from the belly. I'm going to slide that knife to make some good meaty ribs, but not drift too far from the bone. Once I get toward the tail end, I'm going to kind of go straight through that oblique abdominal section. And then I wish you could see a little better, but I'm peeling with my left hand. I'm really moving those ribs with my left hand and simply just clipping little pieces of meat that are just barely hanging on with my knife hand. But look how that belly turns out in a nice rack of ribs. Really nice rack of ribs there. Then I'm just going to kind of square up this belly. Nobody really wants that type of stuff hanging off their pork belly or off their bacon. So just square it up. Kind of make it look nice for customers like that. And once we have that squared up, going back to the little knife, and we're going to be removing the skin off the back of this pork belly. It is a bit of a process, but as you'll see, your offhand is really going to help you. And if you get this started right, it'll make the process a lot easier for you. But I'm really pulling that skin tight with my left hand, as you'll see, and working that knife right on the skin. I mean, I'm trying to stay as close as possible. If we're gonna throw this skin away, we really don't want any meat or fat left on it. Inevitably, there's gonna be some. I mean, nobody's perfect. I'm sure eventually they'll invent a machine for this if they haven't already. But here at the craft butcher shop, we just kind of, do what we do. So do your best, keep pulling that skin tight with the left hand and really riding that knife along that skin. Try not to make too many strokes, but as you can see, sometimes with these fresh pigs, it's not the easiest. It actually gets a little easier as they dry out in like a walk-in cooler. The drier it gets, the easier this skin will come off. And then right there at the tail end, this is the hardest part. I got a little bit into the meat there, but I didn't leave it on the skin. So there's a pork belly for you, nice and chunky. Then real quick, because I have to take off this pork foot, little trotter, and then just buzz right through this shoulder and arm section here. I'll be working on that later. Might have to do another video on that section later. Anyway, those are cleaned up, and I'm going to do this pork tenderloin real quick. So it's got a nice amount of leaf lard on this pig, so we're just going to go ahead and clean up some of this stuff you really don't want to display on pork tenderloin, but save a lot of it for trim, assuming it's not silver skin. But really I'm just removing fat and silver skin here. Yeah, a lot of people go for these tenderloins because obviously the tenderness factor, right? And also one of the leaner pieces of pork. All right, got most of that silver skin off of there. Just really pull with your left hand. I know I always emphasize that, but it's a big deal. A lot of butchery have to take it off. And got a little nitpicky there, but that's a nice tenderloin. Now I'm going to quickly chine this pork loin, meaning remove the split chine bones. Gonna have to bandsaw this at an angle. Typically not anyone's favorite thing to do in the world, but it takes me 2 passes here to get exactly right. Don't want to leave, meat on those bones. Unfortunately, on this round of pork, we're not doing anything with those bones. And you're gonna have a little bit of what we call feather bones on the outside of this loin. This is a fun cut right here. You just get right underneath those feather bones and separate them from the loin, and you can kind of just zip it right off. Yeah, there we go. Nice. All right. There's a nice section of pork loin. I'm going to split it right here. In between that last rib and kind of that leaner loin section. Wow, there we go. Yeah, that looks nice. Boom. Side of pork.